Okay, today we're going to have a look at inequalities, but specifically looking at how we represent them on a number line. So I've written down some inequalities. The first one says that x, which can be any number, is greater than -2. The second one says that x can be less than or equal to 5. So let's just take a look at some of the possible values for these. In the first one, x could be -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., etc., and carrying on, but it cannot be -2. In the second one, x can be 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and all of the numbers below that. So the key distinction here is that that little line underneath the inequality sign tells me that x can be that number. If I don't have that line, then it cannot be that number. So if we were to draw these on the number line, let's take the first one, which I've coloured in blue. X can be anything greater than -2. So I'm going to represent this by popping a little circle there above -2. And my arrow is going to point in the direction of all of the numbers and all of the values that x can take. So we can see that it's -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I've just put that arrow on to show that it's actually going to be any of those numbers in that direction. If I look at the second inequality, which I've coloured green, x is less than or equal to 5. Again, I'm going to put my circle in on the number line above 5, but the difference this time is that I've actually coloured it in. And what that signifies is that x can be 5. If you look in the previous one, I haven't coloured in the circle because x cannot be -2. Again, I'm going to stick my arrow in on this one, pointing in the direction of all the values that that inequality can take. Now what I can do is I can combine these two inequalities. So if I just draw this one out, we can see that their two arrows have now merged. I've got my unfilled circle above -2 and my filled in circle above 5, and this represents both of those inequalities on the number line. Couple of things to remember then, this is really important. Your inequality symbols, if it doesn't have the line underneath, it means that it does not include the number stated, and we represent that with an empty circle. If it does have the little line underneath the inequality sign, then it will include that number, and we represent it with a filled circle. So let's have a look at an example. We're going to try and represent the pair of inequalities on the number line. The first one is x is greater than or equal to -3, and the second one, bit weird, says 2x is less than or equal to 16. So the first thing I'm going to have to do on this one, and this is a common way that they'll ask this in your exam, is they will give you some of your inequalities, perhaps both of them, disguised as what you might think of as equations. They can't be called equations because they're inequalities, but we solve them in much the same way. So I'm going to take this first one, the 2x is less than or equal to 16, and I'm going to solve it in the same way I would solve an equation. Divide both sides by 2, so x is less than or equal to 8. Now once I've got it as a singular x, I can do my representation on the number line. So I'm going to take my first inequality here. X is greater than or equal to -3, and I'm just going to pop a circle on the -3, and this one does have the line with it, so I'm going to colour my circle in. This tells me that it can take the value of -3. My other inequality says x is less than or equal to 8, so I'm going to draw a circle on the 8. Again, because it's got the or equal to part, I'm going to colour this one in, and that's absolutely fine. You can have both coloured in, both not coloured in, or a mix and match of both of them. And once I've got this, the two arrows would be pointing towards each other, so I'm just going to join them up with a nice straight line. Okay, here's one for you to have a go at and practice on. Pause the video here, hit play when you're ready to see what the answer looks like. Okay, hopefully you've got something that looks like this. So x is less than 7, so I'm going to want to circle on 7. I'm not going to fill it in because it doesn't have the or equal to part. And I've got x is greater than or equal to 0, so this circle is going to need to be filled in. And if I can draw a slightly more successful straight line than last time, close enough. Here's a second example for you to have a go at. Again, what I've tried to do here is I've put a bit of solving involved in this inequality, so there might be something you have to do first. Pause the video here, hit play when you're ready to see what the answer looks like. Okay, so before we draw this on the number line, the first thing I'm going to need to do is a bit of solving on this one. So I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides, leaving me with x is greater than or equal to -2, and this inequality here doesn't need to change. So my first circle is going to go on the value of -2 for this inequality. It says x is greater than or equal to, so I am going to colour it in. Down at the other end it says x is less than 6, but it cannot actually be 6. So I'm going to join the two of them up with a nice straight line, and that's how that one should look. Hopefully you got all of these okay. If you're unsure of any of the elements of solving the inequalities, make sure that you look at our video on solving inequalities. That will help with this massively. Thanks for watching.